Hello, hello, everybody. It's great to see all of you virtually coming into the room. We have a wonderful program today. So I'm just going to say some virtual hellos as the Zoom room fills up, but we're going to get started pretty quickly. There are literally hundreds of you joining us today for this training session to help prepare you and prepare your organization for the 2026 Giving Challenge. My name is Misha Kirby. I'm the Vice President of Strategy and Communications with the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. And as you're probably aware, today's webinar will be recorded and shared with all the registrants after the session. And it'll also be available to you on our YouTube channel, so you can refer to it for ongoing planning for the Giving Challenge, which as of right now is just over 30 or 83 days away. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. 83 days and counting till we get to this 10th Giving Challenge. So in the spirit of respecting your time and focus, I'm going to quickly turn the program over to our talented facilitators from the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising team, which is an initiative led by our partners on many projects, the Patterson Foundation. Our Community Foundation team will be answering questions in the chat and Q&A as we go throughout the program. And as always, there is a wealth of information that's available to support you and your preparations for the Giving Challenge on the program website, givingchallenge.org. So with that, just one last reminder of who I am, but then I welcome Sara Leonard and Jennifer Abbott, and they will take us through today's program. It's all yours.
Thank you, Misha. Hello, everyone. It is fun to see you identifying yourselves. We can't see you, which is a bummer, but we know you're out there doing good work. I'll introduce myself and this initiative. My name is Sara Leonard. I am a career-long fundraiser and actually very proud of that because I like to say I've never rescued an animal or helped somebody through a mental health crisis, but I've raised money for the people who do that work. And I hope that's how you see yourselves today, as the people who raise the money for that work. Jennifer and I are part of an initiative of the Patterson Foundation called Fueling Dynamic Fundraising, which is a mouthful, but we are delighted to work with nonprofits in the four-county region and help you strengthen your fundraising capacity. And we are currently working with cohort number 4, a group of nonprofit organizations, and we'll soon be talking about cohort number 5 for 2026. Again, we are happy to share all of this information with you. I will confess there are some slides with a lot of words on them because we've provided you with samples, but know that those are available to you after this session so that you can use them over and over and adapt them for your own. Also, there'll be time for question and answer at the end, and Jennifer and I will be happy to to answer your questions. Today is the second in the series of 3 trainings we're doing. The third one is coming up February 4th. That will be Victoria Finley and myself training on how to schedule your countdown to impact for the Giving Challenge, and we'll provide some tools to help you with that. Then March 10th will be final steps to success for the Giving Challenge. And the final one is donor stewardship and retention after the Giving Challenge, which we believe is terribly important. Know that those are available for you as recordings after they happened. We did a training in October that was on planning. So if you're still planning, and there's still plenty of time to plan, but you should be starting now, be sure to look for that in the library of trainings.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Abbott, and this is my dog Gibbs, and I'm going to tell you why he's here in a second. But I just want to introduce myself for those of you that I don't know from my time at Manatee Community Foundation or 40 Carrots Family Center. Excuse me, like Sara, I am a career fundraiser, and I'm from this community, and I take a lot of pride and a lot of pleasure in working with nonprofits in my role at the Patterson Foundation now as a consultant. Not to date myself too much, but I was a development director in the very first Giving Challenge. And Susie Bowie led the training for the very first Giving Challenge. And if any of you were there, you know her dog Wilson always played a starring role in her trainings, her mischievous dog Wilson. So this is my tribute to that. This is my dog Gibbs. For such a tough looking dog, he's scared by a lot of things. And he's feeling a little intimidated that it's mid-January and the Giving Challenge is right around the corner suddenly, it feels. So if you're feeling that, Gibbs is here with you. But today we're going to share some tools to help you polish your Giving Challenge plan. So hopefully you have that calm, cool, collected feel moving into the Giving Challenge. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Sara.
Thank you, Jennifer. So a little information on what information we're going to talk about today. This is on communication planning. We are firm believers that you should be planning your communication now so that you'll be ready when the 24 hours of the Giving Challenge come along. We're going to provide you with some templates and samples. Again, we'll have resources available to you after this is over. We're going to talk about a message toolkit, what should be in it, how to build one. We're going to talk about audiences because you are communicating with different groups of people and how to segment those, which is sometimes a scary word, but it just means dividing people up so that we can communicate in a personal way for them. We want to acknowledge at this point that with a few hundred organizations on this training and then several hundred more organizations in the Giving Challenge, you are all at very different places. Some of you are very small, excuse me, and fully volunteer, and some of you are very large organizations with large staffs to work on this. Our hope is that you'll listen to what we're offering today and pick what works for your organization. We know that you have different capacities, and we're going to give you examples that may or may not work for you, but our hope is you'll be able to hear what we're offering and decide what will work for your organization and your audiences. So let's jump right into this. The Giving Challenge is a unique opportunity, and we hope and really want you to take advantage of the uniqueness of it. The 24 hours drives urgency among your donors and prospects. You may ask for gifts all the time, and people may think, yeah, okay, I'll get to that. But when there's 24 hours and a match involved for that 24 hours, you have a unique opportunity to create urgency. But make sure that your messaging is short, clear, and repeated. I'll say that again, short, clear, and repeated. Get it? I repeated. Because the first time we hear something, we may or may not get it, but then the second and third time, and that's true for the audiences who are seeing your content. Also, you've got that today only opportunity to increase responses because the Giving Challenge is over and the match is over at noon on April 16th. So you have a chance to lean into that urgency. So some more uniqueness of the Giving Challenge. There is that urgency, but you also want to make sure that there is ease of giving. Every communication piece should include the link to your organization's giving spot on the Giving Challenge website. You never want a donor to have to go looking for it. We also have to realize most people will see this on their cell phone, not on a laptop where you're working on it, laid out nicely, but on that little bitty screen, and you want them to be able to click easily. Another thing that motivates donors, we call it social proof, but my mom probably would have called it peer pressure. When I see my friends are giving to something, there's a little pressure there, but there's also an endorsement. If I know Jennifer believes in and gives her money to an organization, I know her, like her, and trust her, I'm more likely to want to give to that also. Remember that people give with emotion. It is a rational decision to give, but it's also an emotional decision. So remember that stories beat statistics every time in this kind of fundraising, really in almost every kind of fundraising. So be sure that you're telling stories that demonstrate how your organization changes the world. And then don't forget that match opportunity. We all know it, you all know it, but the rest of the community and all of your audiences may not know it. It is their technical language, and Jennifer will share that, but it's the Patterson Foundation will match gifts from $25 to $100 for unique donors. So you can say to a donor, your $25 becomes $50. That's really motivating. And I wanted to reemphasize that the Patterson Foundation does this because they believe that anyone can be a philanthropist, and you have that chance to communicate to your donors. You can be a philanthropist. So, more parts that make this unique are your chance to engage ambassadors. That's a really fancy term. We're going to sometimes call that peer-to-peer fundraising, but it's anybody in your organization's universe who's willing to speak on your behalf, remembering that people trust their friends. And you didn't know there'd be math, but I'll do a little. So if 10 ambassadors or peers are sharing the messages and they share it 3 times before and during the 24 hours, you're going to reach thousands of new people. We're going to get into the details and some how-tos on this a little bit later in the hour. So key takeaway here is remember the uniqueness of the Giving Challenge and maximize that for your best results.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to talk a little bit now about building your message toolkit. A message toolkit is really just a small collection of key things you want to say during the Giving Challenge. It helps everybody on your team because remember, Giving Challenge fundraising is a team sport. So your staff, if you've got it, your board, your volunteers, those ambassadors Sarah was talking about, to talk about your campaign in a clear, consistent way, because you want to repeat that message in a way that starts to resonate. But also, if others are speaking on your behalf, you want to make sure you're all using that same clear, approved message. So your message toolkit is going to include your main idea, a few short talking points, a description of the impact a gift could make, an example or a story, like Sarah mentioned, and a few ready to use lines you can just plug and play. And that's it, nothing fancy. So we're going to talk in a little more detail about each of those things. Message toolkit, like we said, is an anchor message, some supporting messages, and then having your assets, your stories, your photos, your graphics in place and ready to use for plug and play. And just a reminder, as we get into these examples, you won't need to screenshot or anything. You'll have access to these slides afterwards. An anchor message really answers 3 key questions. What problem or need exists? How does your organization solve it? And what impact does a donor's Giving Challenge gift have? Sarah talked about the unique proposition of the Giving Challenge, and that's important, but that's not why someone gives to your organization, your mission, the impact of your work, the difference you make in the world. That's why someone gives to your organization. So a strong anchor message answers these 3 questions, and I just want to put a caution out there that you want to talk about not so much what your organization does, but why you do it. For example, instead of saying, we helped 100 people improve their English skills, you might say, because of you, parents could volunteer in their child's classroom, job seekers could interview with confidence, and patients could connect with their doctors. Or even more simple, without English, daily life is harder. Finding work, going to the doctor, supporting your child at school. And your gift provides the language skills that make those moments possible. So here's an anchor message example. I don't want to belabor it too much, but let's just look at the problem. And the solution. So students are falling behind. That's the need we see here. What does your organization do to solve it? You help young readers build confidence and skills. And what impact does the Giving Challenge gift makes? During the Giving Challenge, gifts of up to $100 are matched, and they fuel a lifetime love of learning. This one's a little longer, and I apologize for that, but just take a second and look. Giving Challenge is a 24-hour opportunity. So we talk about that unique opportunity here. Too many people in our community miss out on live music. That's a really clear need. Here's the solution we're providing. And when you give, here's what your gift makes possible with something pretty concrete. And then from noon to noon, April 15 to 16, you can spark moments of joy through music across our community. And that is making the donor the hero of your anchor message. So, supporting messages. Why your mission matters now. Small gift framing, matching or challenge incentive. These are the kinds of supporting messages you might want to develop. And here's a few examples. For example, why your mission matters now. Maybe more families than ever rely on our food pantry. Children are still recovering from learning loss. Affordable housing pressures continue to rise, right? Short, sweet, direct. Here's why the mission matters. Here's what we say a small gift, because we're asking for gifts of $25 to $100 in the Giving Challenge. And some folks, as you all know, might say the need is huge. What impact is my gift going to have? And you can give some examples here. $25 could provide art supplies for a child. $25 can give a rescue animal a full day of care. Here are some supporting message examples. To strengthen giving during the 2026 Giving Challenge, the Patterson Foundation will match all unique donations up to $100 per donor per organization, or the Patterson Foundation will match all unique donations up to $100 per donor per organization. The match is super important, as we all know, and it can be confusing for us, for donors, for everybody. So this is the official language. It's on the website. It's going to be in the materials we provide. We ask that everybody stick to the same clear message because it just makes it simpler for us, but most especially for our donors. Here are some message point examples. The Giving Challenge is a 24-hour community-wide event. Your support today changes lives by, put your information in here. These are just examples. You make them your own, but you get the idea. You're writing these, drafting them ahead and putting them in your toolkit so you can plug them in as we go. They're bite-sized lines you can put in your email, social posts, text, peer-to-peer outreach, or even in quick conversations if you're calling donors. Note some of these here, some social media starters, and they really make the donor the hero of the story. We're halfway there. Help us push across the finish line. A little goes a long way. Your gift helps us accomplish this. Here are some examples of before, during, and after messages, right? Because you want sort of different messages that speak to where we are in the challenge at different times. So maybe take advantage of some of those opportunities. What you want to say before. Meet Jennifer, whose life was changed because of supporters like you, with that story that Sara mentioned that's really going to make the difference. That will be different than the way you talk during the Giving Challenge. It will be different than the way you talk after the Giving Challenge. Don't forget, what we say after is as important as what we say during. We're going to be stewarding and thanking these donors and ambassadors. So we touched a little on stories. I'm just going to include a little more information here. Having a brief client or participant story that you can use really can make a difference in making things feel real to your donors. Highlighting a key moment, a challenge faced, a turning point, or an outcome, put some action in the story. Be sure you pair that story with a call to action. Keep it short because there's a lot of messaging happening, and also the way we're going to be using these. It's unfortunately not a place to get into a long drawn out story. And when you have photos to reinforce the story, it does make it stronger. And we'll talk a little here about graphics and photos. We know people scroll really quickly, and a strong photo or simple graphic can stop and help your message get seen. Images make your post or email instantly more noticeable during the Giving Challenge. They make your mission real. Words explain, but visuals show. So a photo of a participant, a classroom, a volunteer, an empty pantry shelf These help donors feel emotionally connected. We know through research that they increase engagement, more images, get more clicks and shares, and they just help you tell a consistent story. Really recommend that you gather these assets now and identify your gaps. You don't want to be 2 days before the Giving Challenge and going, we have a great story, no image to go with it. So start looking at your library of images now for photos that tie into that core message, that anchor message you're going to write. So maybe some simple graphics for things like donate now or thank you. Put them all in a place you can find them. And remember, you're going to need different formats for different images. Some great news if you're feeling like that is a lot that I need to find and prepare. There are so many free resources that the Community Foundation of Sarasota County has prepared and is making available to us all, ready to download. The link will come in the follow-up email and will be on the resources page. I'll just also mention it's fantastic, all the resources that we have around the Giving Challenge, but if you're feeling stumped for something, some inspiration, there's also everything around Giving Tuesday. There are a lot of Giving Tuesday resources out there that you can Google, look up, and adapt for our own very special, even better community-wide Giving Day. This is the tagline that Community Foundation kindly requests that you use in your longer form communications. So in a brief Instagram post, are you going to get this line in there? Maybe not. But if you're doing something like promoting it on your website, doing a letter or an email to your donors, putting it in your newsletter, putting out a press release, or creating a flyer, this is the line that the Community Foundation asks that you use. And it recognizes the partnership with the Community Foundation and the Patterson Foundation to make this available for our community. Again, this exact wording is going to be available to you to just drop into your information. Just wanted to point that out and make sure you all have that on your radar. So the key takeaway just from this section is developing your messaging now allows for some calm and consistency during the Giving Challenge. And here's the calm Gibbs who totally has a plan. He's got it under control. Look at how chill he is. He is totally anticipating his 24 hours filled with consistent messaging. He's a happy boy. So I'm going to talk now about defining your audience and tailoring messages. And when we talk about defining or segmenting audiences, we're really just talking about the different groups of people that you're talking to. Not everybody knows or experiences your organization the same way. That's great. Your board members, for example, that's going to be a different message than maybe you send to someone who gives your organization $10 a month every month. So we're just, when you tailor your message, then you're saying things in a way that makes sense for that consistent group. So who's some of our audience? People who already donated, maybe people who haven't donated in a while. Anybody else want to drop into the chat? Who else might be in your audiences? I'm going to give it a minute. If you're with me, drop some thoughts in the chat. Are there audiences that are unique to you, for example? Like maybe I see volunteers new to town, staff, friends of friends, people who've never donated, friends and family, the users of our products. Now, see, that's not something every nonprofit is going to have, but some will, so that's unique to you. Parents of students in your school, maybe alumni or alumni families, maybe adoptive parents. Annual members who utilize services, ticket buyers, and subscribers. I'm going to let you guys learn from each other here in the chat, but this is just really demonstrates that there's a lot of ways to look at the audiences. We all have different audiences. We want to make sure the messages we're sending make sense for each of those. So here's some examples. You take your core message to existing donors. You're saying you already make such a difference in our organization. Today, your $50 goes even further with the impact during the Giving Challenge. For lapsed donors, you might say, you've supported us in the past. Will you consider making a gift during the Giving Challenge to help us continue this vital work? As I'm reading this, I'm thinking that that's missing the match message. Will you consider making a gift that will be matched? Or to your ambassadors, your potential peer-to-peer fundraisers, your voice matters more than any ad we could buy. Here's your simple toolkit to help share your story. I just want to take a moment to bring up AI. Many of us are already using it. Some of us are not. That's a-okay. But I find that thinking about and sharing about, here's another opportunity to learn from each other. Some ways you might use AI. Take that core message, that anchor message. You write, you draft, you've got it perfect. You've shared it with your team. You're all in agreement. This is going to be our core message. Then you might use AI to say, take this and tailor it to lapsed donors. Take this message and tailor it to local business owners. Take this message and write me 5 social media posts based on these stories that I've already created. Generate a communications timeline based on this. If folks have other examples of ways they have used AI or might use AI to modify and adapt their work for the Giving Challenge, please drop it in the chat. I am gonna move on to the key takeaway for this section is just thinking through your audiences now and identify where tailoring is possible. And then I am going to hand it over to Sara to talk about ambassadors and as communicators and peer-to-peer fundraising.
Thank you, Jennifer. So I'm going to use interchangeably ambassadors. I may use champions. I may use peer-to-peer fundraising. But what it really means is your biggest supporters helping you spread the word and raise money by reaching out to their own friends and family during the Giving Challenge. Think of it this way. Instead of your organization doing all of the asking, you're going to invite your supporters, whoever those are. And I noticed some of those are in that chat box. Parents, grandparents, you're going to ask all of them to help you share the messages of the Giving Challenge. So, what can this help you do? The Giving Challenge moves fast. It's 24 hours. Some parts of the 24 hours, it feels like a month, and some parts, it feels like a second. It's going quickly. But these peer-to-peer champions can help you reach more people than you'd reach on your own. It also helps you reach additional people. It multiplies your impact without you multiplying your workload. And it can create excitement. Think of some ways to have friendly competition. If your board members all participate, maybe you have them compete for the ones who have donors coming in the fastest or the one who has the most donors. Think of ways you can celebrate them. But to make this work, either you or someone on your Giving Challenge team needs to recruit, equip, and appreciate these peers. And we're going to talk about how to do each one of those. So what makes this easy? You're asking them to do 3 simple things. Set up a personal fundraising page that usually takes 5 to 10 minutes. You should practice, and then you can help walk people through it. It seems intimidating, but it really is not. It is meant to be user-friendly. I've clicked around a little bit. It's user-friendly. Next, you're going to share this. You're going to ask them to share this through text, email, or social media. And if they say, oh, I'm not on Facebook, that's okay. We can do it by text message. Oh, I don't text. Okay, you can do it by email. And if they say, I don't text, email, or use social media, then I would say, would you pick up the phone and call some people? There is almost no way to get around your request. And you're going to ask them to ask their friends to join them in supporting your organization, giving $25 to $100 during that 24-hour window. Does this sound familiar? This is exactly the same message that Jennifer's talked about in that anchor message. And notice that it says you're asking them to ask their friends to join them, because the people who serve as your peers, your ambassadors, your social media champions, they also need to make a gift, which increases your participation. This is a screenshot of the Giving Challenge webpage, and what you're looking for is this number 2, next steps, and it says peer-to-peer. Notice the handshakes. That is how you go in and find the templates, the tools you need. You are not on your own creating this. The Give Gab Bonterra, what's the word, website, platform, there's the word I was looking for. That platform is set up to encourage peer-to-peer fundraising. This would be harder for your organization to do it on a random Tuesday. But during the Giving Challenge, there are lots of tools. So then how are you going to ask them? Here is a sample request. We're reaching out to a small group of trusted champions. Notice small group and trusted. Flattery gets you everywhere, who have always shown up for us and our mission. During the Giving Challenge, we have just 24 hours to rally support, and your voice could truly move people to give. Would you consider being one of our peer fundraisers? And remember that AI can help you as you're drafting these messages. And then once you've recruited them, you want to equip them. You're not turning them loose and telling them they have to figure it out on their own. You're going to provide them with a communications toolkit. And if you're thinking, Sara, I don't have time to create another toolkit, this fits right in with the communication tools that Jennifer has already talked about. You want to make it easy for them to say yes. Having a toolkit helps your messages to be consistent and accurate so that they're not asking for things you don't do or sharing messages about the match that aren't accurate. Your toolkit will help you grow your reach and your fundraising impact. And it's going to engage those supporters in a new way that makes them part of the team. That statistics show if they've participated this way, they will stay engaged with your organization even after the 24 hours of the Giving Challenge. So what are you asking them to do? You ask them to share in 2 or 3 sentences why they support your organization, what impact they've seen, and why this Giving Challenge matters to them. So you can provide them with this sample sentence and ask them to fill it out. I volunteer with organization's name, and I see every week how they help families stay stable. Stay stable, that's that short messaging that Jennifer talked about. You fit in whatever works for your organization. A gift of $25 to the Giving Challenge provides, this is fill in the blank for you, for instance, 2 days of groceries. I'm supporting them. Would you join me? And this is a place where each of your ambassadors can make this fit their own reasons for attachment with your organization. You want to provide them with templates for, we're suggesting these for, social media posts, text messages, emails, and thank yous. Actually, we're going to show you even some more messages that you can recruit. But remember, you're not starting from scratch. You're reusing that anchor message. That's why it's important to invest time now to feel really good about that anchor message and using it in a variety of different ways. So how does this work best? How do we recognize them so that it works best? We want them to feel confident, equipped, and then after they've done it, we want them to feel appreciated. So give them the tools that are easy to use, assign them a clear point of contact, especially during that 24 hours. If they wait until late in the evening of the first day and need to talk to somebody, have somebody on your team who's willing to receive a text or a phone call. Remind and encourage and thank them, always with a smile. We're not nagging them until they get it done. We're just nudging them. And your organization is top priority for you. It may not be top priority for everybody who's serving as an ambassador. They may have a life outside of your organization. They may be taking somebody to soccer practice that evening, and a little nudge from you is what they're going to need. Oh, that's right. I meant to do that. So make sure that you're helping them before the day, but make a plan to recognize their efforts and celebrate their successes both during the giving challenge and after. So watch during those 24 hours. And if you see that your ambassadors are sharing the message, send them a thank you text, send them an email, give them a phone call. And then after it's all over, make sure they know that what they did mattered. And you want to remind them how your organization is making an impact, how you're changing a life or saving a life, making our community stronger. I think the term peer-to-peer can be scary, but I want you to know that it is not. You've got all kinds of people out there, people who you listed some of them in the chat, adopted animals, grandparents of your students, alumni of your program. And you don't have to be a school to have alumni. It's whoever benefited. So using peer-to-peer fundraising is going to multiply your impact and can be simple because these tools are available. But remember, you've got to recruit, support, and appreciate your ambassadors. One more thought I made in my notes, so I didn't forget to tell you. Don't be limited by people who live in this 4-county region. This is an online giving effort. So your champions could be all across the country. It could be those alumni who have moved on and live someplace else. It could be grandparents who live outside of this area. There really is no geographic limit to this. So remember to think beyond our hometowns. So now I'm going to shift and talk about multi-channel communications. I like to think this is a very fancy term for asking everybody in all of the ways. And what do we mean by all of the ways? It's everything that's available to you: email, text messages, social media, on your website, phone calls, and direct mail. So direct mail is also known as snail mail. It involves a first-class stamp. It is still very effective. And even though this is a mostly online giving event, we can still use direct mail to encourage people to participate, and then especially to thank them after they've participated. I don't believe that every organization can do all of those things. So we want to reinforce that you should pick the things that work for your organization and do those things well. Remembering you want to go where your donors are. You don't want to try to force your donors to come to where you are. So if none of them use text messages, but they all answer email, use email. If it's vice versa, then don't use email, use text messages. So how do you do that? It's minimal but mighty. You repurpose content. And I picked this visual to reinforce that you're taking a plain white wall and then you're painting it all kinds of different pretty colors. And also remember your photos and stories. You can repurpose them and retell them. Every donor doesn't see every message. So it's okay if you're saying the same thing over and over and reinforcing your messages. So here's the disclosure. I used ChatGPT. I'm not great at AI, but I am trying to get better. And I gave ChatGPT Jennifer's sample anchor message, which you'll have because you'll have the slides. And I asked ChatGPT to repurpose that message for several things. This is my first result. I asked it specifically, repurpose it into an email. With a reminder, I proofed it. And when you're doing this, you want to proof carefully. But notice it changed the length. It made it into an email type of length. And also notice they're short paragraphs because that's what we read in an email. Most of us read email on our phones. And it has some key messages you'll recognize. Every $25 provides books. During the giving challenge, gifts of up to $100 are matched. And then notice the last part, because this is just a sample, but give during the giving challenge and you put your link in so that if you've gone to the work of getting this in front of somebody and they see it and they read it, you want to make sure it's easy for them to give. So next thing that ChatGPT helped me with, I gave it the anchor message and I said, can you turn it into a short phone script that a volunteer could use during a giving event? And this is what it came up with. So if you're recruiting people to make reminder phone calls during that 24 hours, here it is. The one thing I would add to this, at the bottom it says, would you consider making a gift during the giving challenge? You should add instructions. Visit our website. Send a text to, call this number for more information. And when you're talking about a phone script, remember most people are going to be leaving messages. So you may want to start with, you don't need to call me back, but I wanted to remind you. Again, you want to personalize it. So I asked ChatGPT to repurpose it as a social media post, and you'll notice it put in all of these spiffy little emoji things. Not my typical way of communicating, but that's okay. That's why I need help. Notice its headline is Help a Young Reader Gain Confidence. That is straight from the anchor message, but it's something that grabs my attention. Of course, I want to help a young reader gain confidence, and I keep reading. Again, notice at the bottom, there's a place for that giving challenge link because you want them to touch that link and make that gift. Okay, I asked for repurpose a text message. I will tell you my young adult children would say this is too long a text message, but maybe you shorten it, maybe not, but if you're texting, you can say, hi, Jennifer, April 15th and 16th, because it's a very personal way of communicating. Include that giving link. And then another way to repurpose is a social media post that focuses on the countdown. Again, the AI helper put those emojis in. This is the kind of message that you would probably put on, I think maybe the morning of April 16th, which is like hours 20 through 23. You may also do some middle of the night messages that you can preset, but you can use your anchor message and repurpose it. All the ways you want to use best performing content that is story driven. Don't forget your photos. We didn't do this on purpose, but I think we're demonstrating this photos really matter with the pictures of Jennifer's dog Gibbs. That's unfortunately what you're going to remember, not all of the important content we're sharing with you. You're going to remember that sweet dog and his sweet face. So don't forget that when you're asking during the giving challenge. Remember to use all of your channels for countdowns. Send an email in the middle of the night. Send a text message somewhere about 11:30 a.m. on day 2. And remember to use urgency triggers in all of those messages. This day goes fast. You want to take advantage of that. Remember that you're building momentum with all of these messages. If your organization has a secondary match where you have board members or a donor who's going to match at a certain point, use all of your channels or all of the channels you're using, use them to announce the unlocking or encourage people to unlock those matches. Remember milestones. This is our 100th gift. This is our first gift. This is our first new donor. You've got ways to communicate and celebrate those. Remember to shout out your ambassadors. Thanks, Jennifer. We see how you're rocking it and blah, blah, blah. This is blah, blah, blah is where I would use AI to help me with those messages or recruit some help. Be sure to respond in real time. All of those communication channels, if you're sending email, make sure somebody's monitoring that email account before and during those 24 hours. And then think about your posting cadence over the 24 hours. Don't do all of your communication right at noon when it starts, but make it a helpful rhythm, and you can preset some of those things. This is a slide we used in our October training when we were talking about planning, but we feel like these are messages that should be repeated. Messages that should be repeated. We've already talked about how important that is, but don't wait. Now is the time to start communicating with your audiences. Share stories, impact updates, some behind the scenes moment that show your mission in action. Remember that your donors don't get to see the magic every day of the good work that you're doing. Start now, thanking your donors publicly and celebrating all of that community support. and begin using consistent visuals. Jennifer talked about assets, those photos, those stories. Absolutely. Now is the time to start using them so that people get used to seeing it. And hashtags, also very important. Hashtag giving challenge, hashtag young readers, whatever the hashtags and communications that you've decided for your giving challenge campaign. So our key takeaway here is use as many channels as your organization can manage. I want to be clear, we're not saying use every channel. We're saying use the ones that you can manage and then use those channels really well. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer, and she's going to talk about your communications timeline.
Thanks, Sarah. So if any message is coming through, I'm hoping it's that setting a plan in place now is going to make all the difference in those 24 hours. So spoiler alert, 12 weeks away. And I know many of you are already deep into your planning, but for someone who'd like some sort of suggestions around a 12-week timeline, they're included in the resources afterwards. Are some templates that you can take from or adapt to make sense for you. But we're going to walk through just a couple of examples of what a few weeks might look like in a communications timeline. So this week, for example, if you're attending this training, look at what you're already doing for the Giving Challenge. Yay, thanks for being here with us. Identify your internal Giving Challenge team. I don't care how small your organization is, one person should not be doing this on their own with no support. Other volunteers, other board members, it's really difficult to do it all on your own. So now's the time to ask, who can help you make this a success? Review the message toolkit templates and campaign examples that we're going to provide. Maybe decide on your campaign focus or theme. Block off time on your calendar now for Giving Challenge preparations. If you're the kind of person who works that way, it's a great idea. It's going to sneak up on all of us. So knowing it will take some time to draft and refine that anchor message and then adapt it for everything that you decide you're going to use it for. Go ahead and block some time now. I think you'll feel better just knowing you have time set aside to do it. And a reminder that it's not too late, as Sarah said, to thank your current and lapsed donors to be setting the stage for April. Skipping ahead, just because we're not going to walk through all 12 weeks while you guys are sitting on this Zoom with us, but here's an example of what week 6 might look like. Maybe in week 6, you're drafting your save the date email, your kickoff email, and your final push email. Maybe you are sending a save the date to your past donors. Maybe that's about the time to add the Giving Challenge to your website. Maybe you're drafting your social media posts and putting together a few stories or reels. Something that only came up once or twice in this presentation, but can be a really powerful tool is video. It can be as simple as the morning of the Giving Challenge of day 2, the 16th, you roll out of bed and you take a video that says, I just woke up. I'm so excited to see where we are with the Giving Challenge. I hope you guys are with me because we really want to make these last few hours count. It doesn't have to be super polished, but planning ahead for how you want that to go can really make you more successful. Something else you might do in week 6 is drafting ambassador messages you can copy and paste. Ooh, it's a long to-do list for the day of, but here's some good examples. Be ready at noon to launch. Execute your kickoff plan. Make a first test gift to make sure it's working like you think it is. There's often a lot of gifts that come right away at noon. So respond to that first wave of comments and shares and start thanking donors in real time to keep that momentum going. In the afternoon, it's a good time for when things start to lag, good time for an impact story. Check in with your ambassadors to see how they're doing. More engaging with comments and shares. In the evening, post your progress, maybe share one more story or photo. Encourage your ambassadors. In the morning, as we talked about, here's your countdown message. You're thanking donors on social. You're going to the final push. At noon, post your immediate thank you message. Quickly show appreciation to your ambassadors. Share the success with your internal team and your internal audiences. And again, you can draft those thank you messages now. Like when the giving challenge is over, you get to 12:01 and you want to be like, yay, it's done. And it's time to tuck up. And no, it's not quite done yet. Now is when you really need to be thanking folks, and you can plan all that ahead. Week one, as we are so fond of saying, it's not over right away. So much impact can come right after the giving challenge. So the first week, maybe you want to send a wrap-up email and consider calls or notes for donors you might have the contact info for, thanking your ambassadors personally, posting gratitude messages on social, begin compiling results and impact stories, execute a plan to record the gifts. I just want to say this. So in the giving challenge, you receive a list, and I won't go into the details because I'm not an expert on it, but you know who's given, you at least have email information, you know the that information needs to make it into however your CRM, your donor database, your Excel spreadsheet. If that's how you're keeping track of donors, you need to be able to say, when I look at what Jennifer's given to us over the last 5 years, it's important that I see that Jennifer also participated in the giving challenge in those years. And I'm including that total in her giving, right? If you say you're going to recognize everybody who's given, you recognize everyone who gave $500 or more to your organization, and I gave $100 through the giving challenge, and that would have put me over the $500 limit, and you didn't include me, that would be very sad for me. So just make sure that you are not thinking of that as separate. You want to make sure you are tracking and incorporating, and you need to make a plan for that now, but you can execute it in week one, and then put your stewardship plan on your calendar. In the training that Josephine and Sarah did in October, they talked about stewardship as a year-round gratitude in action that builds lasting relationships. And so if you don't ever download that list of who gave to you, how can you make the most of those opportunities, right? So I know you guys are going to do that. The next training on February 4th that Sarah mentioned, where she and Victoria will be presenting, will touch on that topic. And then after the Giving Challenge on April 28th, you won't want to miss the training on donor stewardship and retention after the Giving Challenge. And a link for that will be in the follow-up materials. And I think I'm moving ahead to one more slide. There we go. So just the key takeaway from this session, as Sarah said, your plan should be right-sized for your capacity, but every organization can plan for success. The Giving Challenge really is what you make it. We recognize the Giving Challenge is like one more thing on your plate, and it fits differently into everybody's overall organizational planning and fundraising strategies. For some organizations, we really like, this is your biggest fundraiser over 2 years. And for some organizations, it's like it's maybe, I've participated in the Giving Challenge that was the morning after my biggest annual fundraiser of the year. And so we'd already asked everybody to give the 2 nights before in a paddle raise, and now we're asking you to give again in the Giving Challenge. That looked different for that organization in that year. But whatever you do, do it intentionally, and we'll provide resources that will hopefully be helpful to you as you move into these 12 weeks and beyond. So now we're into questions, and I know that Misha and Erica and Allison have been monitoring those for us, and they're going to let us know if there's anything we can answer.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jennifer. You've been doing a wonderful job. We've been answering a few different questions in the chat about peer-to-peer fundraising, so thank you for the time that you spent on that. We've shared some links in the chat as well, and that comes along with the materials being available afterwards. But again, givingchallenge.org, where you can get really in-depth links and how-to video tutorials on how to use all of those tools. I just wanted to say I loved your suggestions about some special types of posts and changing your content based on the middle of the night. That's always fun. And I wanted to point out, I hope everyone's paying attention to the prizes that are available on givingchallenge.org. There are some new prizes this year, including a couple for the Diamond Hour. So from 9 to 10 p.m. and 9 to 10 a.m., just as an example where you can really take what Sarah and Jennifer have offered you and put it into practice and modifying your content based on not only the audience, but the time of day as well. So there is a couple of questions that we thought would be good to answer live. One of them is a little bit that I think a lot of organizations encounter where they might be having an event maybe a week or two prior to the Giving Challenge. And they know what they want to, that they want to ask their attendees to take part. Do you have any kind of broad recommendations for what might be some good takeaways or reminders that they could have their guests leave with, or to remember to take action on the 15th and 16th?
Jennifer, would you like to take that one?
Sure, I can take that one. It depends a little on the type of event. If you're also asking for a gift at the event, that's like there's a paddle raise is a little different than more of a gathering. But regardless, if you're doing a program book, I would include a page in the program book, and I would address it just from the stage. You want to slide in your presentation. You want to talk about why it's important. You want to talk about the match. And even if you have a fundraising ask in your luncheon or event, there's a way I feel that you can work that in. Like, this luncheon is super important. What we raise here provides this and does this. And we know we're asking for your support today, but also want to remind you there's a very important community-wide giving day coming up in 2 weeks. And we hope you'll join us again there. And you talk about all gifts of $25 to $100 or unique donors will be matched per organization. Can be an opportunity too to be gracious and pitch for yourself and the other organizations in the community that are important partners in helping getting the work done for your clients. So you say, we're taking part in that. A number of really worthy nonprofits are taking part in that. We hope you'll all put it on your calendar. We'll send you a reminder the day before. We hope you'll share and support us, because that is really a great opportunity for us to get our message out. We know you care about our mission. Sara, other ideas?
Yeah, I thought those were great. I would also, when you're encouraging people to be ambassadors, to be part of that peer-to-peer, I would make it easy for them to tell you they want to do that. So maybe it's a Google form they fill out and you follow up, or maybe it's Jennifer mentioned putting it in the program. Maybe it's a QR code in the program that takes them to a Google form where they sign up and say, hey, I want to be with you on the Giving Challenge day. And then you follow up. Just make sure you've built in somebody to either call them or reach out to them to get them signed up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser.
Thank you. Those are great extra points. And there also has been a little bit of back and forth, which I just want to point out. I think you may have answered. There are, some organizations that have concerns about the tech savviness of their donors. And there are ways to be able to invite them to an in-person event and assist them with online. And then, Sara, you really covered this as well. If you don't feel that peer-to-peer fundraising is necessarily within the skill set of your biggest supporters, let's go some old-fashioned ways and use the phone and snail mail, and really use what I think works with who you're really trying to reach. Make it work for them. So just wanted to reiterate that.
I would say too, if you don't have a strong online giving experience presence, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of credibility to the fact that this is put on by the Community Foundation of Sarasota County, and it's the 10th one, right? So this is a really safe way to dip your toe into online fundraising. And so if you have donors who are hesitant, I think you can say, our partners at the Community Foundation are putting this on for us. And the way to get the match is to give online, but we had there are hundreds of donors in the community that give this way every 2 years, and it's been super successful, and we hope you'll join us.
Great. And we have time for one more question, and it may be something that we can also answer in some follow-up materials. But in general, it's about, that positive peer pressure, I think that you called it, Sara. and wanting to recognize donors and shout out. And obviously there's ways for people to select to be anonymous. But if you have any final closing thoughts on judgment in terms of recognizing donors, any advice that you would give to all of our people who are on the webinar today on how to go about that?
Okay, I'll jump in first. Always defer to the donor's preference. That's assuming you know it. If you don't know the donor's preference, I'd be very careful. But if they had engaged with you on social media in the process of giving, then that's their way of giving you permission to then thank them. Um, some of the organizations I've given to online through the years, like as you finish out the transaction, it says, would you like to share this on your social media channels? I personally don't do that, but there are donors who do. So I would watch I would follow their lead.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll leave it for you, Jennifer and Sarah, to close up for us.
We just want to thank you guys so much for spending this time with us. We hope you're feeling like Gibbs now, excited for the Giving Challenge, and we are excited to go along with you. I know Sarah will be coming back for the next training. Sarah, any final words?
No, I just hope we all look happy like Gibbs does. And he's famous now. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you for being
Thank
with
you.
us today. Have a good day, everybody.